right, guys. If you were out on Thursday, January 27th, you missed a lab on periodic properties. We're still trying to figure out where we would place vibranium on the periodic table. And so now we are trying to figure out some of the different properties of the elements and what patterns we can find. Um, so I'm sorry that I don't have this packet there with you, although you can pick one up at school. But you could read this, obviously. I'm not going to read it to you, but I wanted to point out that the two properties we're looking at in the lab are density and solubility, which is the ability to dissolve. If something is soluble, then it's able to dissolve. And if it's insoluble, sorry, excuse a stool there, then it is not able to dissolve. So, for example, salt is soluble in water, but sand is insoluble in water, right? It's not able to dissolve. Okay, so these are the materials that we used in the lab. We used these three metals: lead, tin, and silicon. And I wrote in the chemical symbols there. I'm going to show you a picture of them here in a second. And then we used four different nitrates, and we mixed those either with sulfuric acid or sodium carbonate. So we used the displacement method to find the volume of the metals. So what you're going to need to do is turn to the back of this front page and write down this information. Okay, so we took the mass of each of the samples, and then we put some water in a graduated cylinder, and then we dropped the metal into the graduated cylinder, and then we saw the change in volume. And so you can probably figure out that if this one went up by 2 milliliters, then the volume of that sample is then 2 milliliters. And then to find the density, you can see that the formula is mass divided by volume. So here you would put the density, okay? And I'll attach a video on that displacement method just so you can see that. As far as the metals go, this is silicon. It is shiny, as you can see. It's a little bit rough in its texture. This is lead. It's, well, you can see its color right there. You can bend it, so it's a little bit malleable. And compared to silicon, it feels it just feels more dense or heavier. I'm sorry, not silicon. This is tin, so you can see that it's more of like a goldish color, and it is easier to bend. Obviously, shiny. There are other properties that you can write down about the appearance of those metals. So you guys need to fill out this data table the rest of the way, or just sketch one if you can't print this off. And then you need to go to the next page and do number 1, which is where you graph that data. And it tells you exactly what to graph in the directions and what should go on each axis. Okay, so part 2 of the lab, we were getting to the mixed chemicals, and we were mixing the different nitrates: magnesium, calcium, strontium, and barium. We were either mixing them with sulfuric acid, which is H2SO4, so this is a sulfate group, or with a carbonate. We mixed it with sodium carbonate, Na2CO3. Okay, so I am attaching 2 videos of the results of each of these reactions. So this is sodium carbonate. So you will be able to see and fill in these boxes and see that trend in the periodic table. I would advise you to really closely read numbers 3 and 4 here so that you can interpret the results in the video. Okay, so you guys are completing this table, graphing your density data here in number 1. And then the other part of what we did today was actually homework, is we skipped to number 7. And it says, you can see here, it says using a reliable internet reference, you need to fill in this data, okay? And then on the next sheet, there's another data table that you also need to fill in. And then you need to answer numbers 8 and 9, which talk about what trends or patterns you see in the data that you filled in. All right. We missed you. Hope to see you soon.